Welcome to day 3 of the chicken coop build, and today we're actually going to be building the coop. Roll the intro. Welcome to part 2 of the chicken coop build here at the garage workshop. If you watched part 1, you will have seen that we finished after making the foundations. The last thing we did in the video was install the foundation. If you haven't seen part 1, it's well worth a watch, and I'll put a link to it in the description. So we started with the base. You can see it in front of me now. I'm just marking it out. I got it cut to roughly the right size when I bought the sheet of plywood. We got the sheet from B&Q, but I just needed to take the end off, and I used a little circular saw, sort of track saw thing that I made. Fantastic little device, really. Unfortunately, I ruined it on this part of the build, but I will be making another one in an upcoming video. Really straightforward. I don't have a track saw. I just have a circular saw, and the little track I made out of wood was absolutely fantastic. So having just cut it, I just had to take the end off. There was a little like extra piece of wood where the board fell, and I just took it off with a Japanese pull saw, which I've got, which is again is another fantastic little piece of kit. So when I'd marked it up, it was time to start making the actual framework structure. And as I said in part 1 of the video, this is exactly the same sort of structure that you would have if you were building a partition wall at home. So here I'm just cutting down all of the parts of the wood ready for the construction. So when all the pieces were cut, it was time to start on the pocket holes. The best piece of kit I got ever is this pocket hole jig. I love it. It's a Craig one. It's absolutely fantastic, and if you really enjoy watching pocket holes being drilled, then this video is going to be the one for you, because it appears loads and loads of times. But it's an absolutely fantastic piece of kit. It gets all the holes exactly where you want them, and as you can see, it's nicely linked up to the vacuum. The little red piece of plastic you can see actually was a connector that I made. I designed it for a 3D printer. So after a while, it took quite a while, I made all of the pocket holes, putting holes in both ends. The next stage was to join them together. Being a thrifty garage workshopper, I used an old pot of glue here, which was a little bit lumpy. It sort of had its day, but I wanted to use it all. Apologies there for getting in the way of the camera, but guess what? I'm going to do that lots more throughout the rest of this video series. I just don't seem to know how to avoid sticking my bum in the way. So after a couple of goes of getting it stood up right, I used the pocket holes and drilled through to start connecting the different pieces of wood. So as you can see, I've got the two sides here, and then put the middle brace in. I had a very clear idea, although you won't see me looking at it. I was following the plan the whole time, and this being the sort of front side of the coop, as it were, I wanted to make sure that I got it exactly right. So once I'd got the structure, it was time to attach the top and bottom. I did take quite a bit of time doing this. I appreciate this video is speeded up, but I wanted to make sure that I got it absolutely right. It fitted perfectly, and then it was time to do, which I think these things are called noggins, these supports, which will be key to fixing the actual wood onto the coop. Now, I made a huge mistake here. I'm wondering if anyone is going to spot it before I tell you. As you can see, I'm using my spirit level to make sure that all of the noggins are completely straight, and I can tell you now 100% they're completely straight. The problem is the base that's on the two work saws, you can see there wasn't completely straight. So they are all completely straight, but they're all completely straight on a slightly wonky angle, and I think you can see it in a couple of the shots that they are a little bit wonky, but it doesn't matter, because you're never ever going to see this bit. It's more for the structure and the strength than anything else. So as you can see, this is the third side of the coop. It's very similar to building a stud wall that you would build if you were building a partition at home. So it's finished now. Now I'm going to repeat the same process and make the front. The only difference with the front is there's a space here for the chicken door. So I'll do that a little bit faster so you don't have to sit through it all. Catch you after that. So here we go with noggin set number 2. What you won't have seen, which I did off camera, was I actually managed to get the base level. So all of the noggins that go into this side that I checked with the spirit level are all level, as in level, level, level. So everything was nice and level after this. But again, it doesn't make much difference because you're not going to see this. It's going to be hidden within the walls. So with that second side finished, I put it all together and clamped it up just to have a look, and here's a view of what it looks like. Very pleased with how it worked out on both sides. You can see this side here, that big hole you can see there, the gap there is for the door to the coop, but pleased with how it turned out. With the 2 full sides complete, it was time to do the 2 ends, and the construction of these was much easier. There weren't any noggins really to speak of, especially on the door side. It was basically just a frame, although that did give me some problems. And when you see the sort of second stage of the coop, when I'm actually doing the final fix on the door, I actually had to completely redo the door because I didn't like the way the hinges were swinging in and out. So this side, this is where the chicken feeder and water bottle is going to be. So again, it's a very basic construction, yet more pocket holes for those of you that love the gratuitous pocket hole scenes. There's another one here, and then it's just me constructing the end of the door. So now with all the pocket holes drilled, it was now time to join this end together. And as I said, this is the end where I'm going to be building a feeder and a drink bottle in this end. It'll have a sort of nesting box style sticking out of the back of the coop. So I wanted to make sure that I got this right. It was just a case of gluing, getting everything lined up, using my little plastic square that I talked about, and getting everything level, because this was very, very important to get this right, because the 2 feeders and the drinks bottles that are going in the other end are slightly different sizes, so one had to be a different gap than the other. But I just double checked it, made sure I got the measurements right, and it was nice and easy to do. This other end of the coop, this is the door. So essentially this was just going to be a big frame which sat inside. I don't mind admitting this end gave me a huge amount of problems, and when I came to actually doing the second fix on the door, I wasn't happy with the door at all, so I actually took the door apart and redid it. So here, as you can see, I'm just fitting it in, and there was a gap at the top which I just didn't plan for, and I didn't like the look of it, and it was also very tight on both sides. So as you can see me looking at it now thinking, is that right? It worked, but like I said, I wasn't very happy with it, so I decided to slightly adapt my plan here. So I took one of the pieces of the studwork timber and I just ran it through the table saw just to get it half the thickness. I wasn't sure if this was actually going to work, and as you can see I was being very nervous with it, very careful. I wasn't sure it was going to work, and to be fair, it pretty much did. It was a slight wedge shape, but literally only a very, very slight wedge shape, and it absolutely fitted a treat, which was what I was after. So I was pleased about that, and I joined it onto the top of the door frame. I did warn you, here is yet another pocket hole piece of video. I'm not sure how many pocket holes I drilled making this coupe, but I'm going to say it was probably 100. Now I think this piece of video might look a bit confusing because, as you can see, there is the side of the coupe there, and it looks like I've cut the side in half. This is actually the end. I just attached it to the side because I wanted to have a little bit more room to drill in the noggin. So it is actually the end. It's just sort of pivoted around so I could clamp it to the side to give myself a bit more space to work. So when the last noggin went in, bit of a tight fit this one, and I'd done quite well with all the noggins, I thought. There was only a couple where they were cut too thinly, which I think was down to my error. So when the last noggins were in, the end was finished, and I was quite surprised how lightweight it was as well. I thought this whole coupe was going to weigh a ton, and it does when it's together, but the individual ends are actually pretty good. The next thing was to put some water repellent sealer on it, which Mrs. B did for me. This stuff stinks. I'll put a link to it in the description though, it's fantastic stuff. So we made a very late decision to put wood on the inside of the coupe. We weren't going to do it originally, but I got an absolute bargain piece of wood, which I'll talk about in a minute. So I offered up the frame I'd made, and this is the side of the coupe that's got the door in it. You can see sort of bottom right as you're looking the door. So we offered it up. The wood is 5mm MDF. It was a couple of offcut sheets, and it was just the right width. It was absolutely fantastic. So I didn't have to go cutting it lengthways. I only had to sort of cut the ends off. The only disadvantage was there were quite a few bashes and dings in some places on the wood. So we only just sort of managed to get enough good wood out of it to use. So the next stage was to go back to my homemade track saw. You can see on the corner there how damaged the wood is, so I had to completely lose that end. The other thing, when I'm clamping it up, and you'll see me holding the clamp up, this is a pair of Festool clamps. I'm not a massive believer in brands and big brands. I mean, they are expensive, these clamps are really much more expensive than you can buy normally, but these clamps are amazing. They're the best clamps I've got by an absolute mile, and I can sort of see why you pay the money. So I like them so much I went out and bought another set, but they hold absolutely everything anywhere. So once I'd secured the track, it was time to make the cut. I have no idea where B&Q kept this piece of wood, but I have never seen a piece of board as dusty as this. It was literally black in places, but a good old rub over with a brush and it came off quite quickly. So next it was time to insulate. I use this stuff, it's Work Zone, which is Aldi's own make. I've used this previously on the first chicken coop I made, and it's absolutely fantastic stuff. Really cheap. Really good. It's as good as the other more expensive brands, and it's really nicely manufactured. So I just cut it to size and then use some contact spray, and we stuck it on. So once the contact adhesive had time to go tacky, it's really funny stuff this. I've never used it before. When you spray it on, it sort of goes like silly string, and it was a windy day, and as you can see, bits were sort of flying everywhere, but I decided to absolutely layer it in the contact adhesive just because I wanted to make sure that it stuck. Even though it's never going to be chicken-sided, if you see what I mean, it'll always be on the inside. I just wanted to make sure. So you spray it on, you give it a minute or so, and when it's tacky to touch, when you just dab your finger on it and it's tacky to touch, you can apply it. It's super, super good at holding on, this insulation. Absolutely brilliant. In fact, I've got an offcut where I cut the door out for the chicken coop from here, and I've still got it, and even now it's hard to pull it off. I just finished it off with a little bit of sort of black tape. Again, that's work zone tape, and when I'd done that, then we were able to offer up the chicken side. I'm putting a little mark here so I know where the noggins are, so when I come to do the nailing in a minute, I'll make sure I get the lines as sort of straight as I can. Mrs. B gave me a little hand to lift it up and got it on, and I was really surprised at how nice a fit it was. It fitted exactly right. It was a tiny little bit I had to take off at one end with the pull saw, but I was really pleased with how much the fit had actually been, considering. I'm just drawing the lines on here now, so I know roughly where to put the nails. I start using the nail gun in a minute, and actually learnt during this film that I was using brad nails which really weren't good enough for the job. They're too thin, and as a result, when I did this, there was a couple of occasions where two nails came out at once, and a lot of the nails, the heads were raised, so I had to go around with a pin hammer and just flatten them all. This is the Airstrike, Ryobi Airstrike nail gun. I don't know what it is about Ryobi tools. You watch a lot of videos and people are quite sort of scathing of them, but I've got quite a few Ryobi tools, and I think this air gun is brilliant. You know, you don't need compressed air, it hasn't got a canister, but it really does strike nails in really well. So I went round and I probably put on more nails than you would need to sink a battleship, but I just wanted to make sure the wood didn't sag or hang off of the frame. So I just go and I probably put in about 3,500 nails, which I obviously shouldn't have done, but I wanted to make sure it was not going anywhere, and after this, trust me, it wasn't going anywhere. The next thing after the nailing was just to screw. So I drew some pilot holes, you can see me drilling them there, and I just ran some wood screws through just to be sort of doubly cautious really. But I wanted to make sure, as I said, that it stayed together. Okay, hope you've enjoyed the video. That's it for day 4. As you can see, we've got one of the sides completely prepared. We had to have a little pop out to B&Q because we decided then that we wanted to line the inside of the coop, which we hadn't originally planned to do, which was fantastic. So we got an amazing bargain, 2 pieces of MDF, which we're going to seal for a £5, 2 massive pieces, but as you saw, very dusty. So hope you enjoyed the video. Tune in tomorrow where hopefully we'll be starting to put it together and do the outside cladding. Catch you then. Happy woodworking.